Welcome to Real Talk TV. I'm your host, Darryl Buchannan. I'd like to thank all my supporters for watching the videos. I should continue to watch them, like them, share them, and subscribe to this channel. Today I have a special guest. His name is Neftaly Medina. He's the founder and owner of Animal Kitchen. Very proud to present him, find out what's going on with him, how he came about transitioning from prisoner to now business owner. Without further ado, I'd just like to introduce Neftaly Medina, better known as Chef Nef. How you doing, brother?
Good, how you doing?
Hey, can you tell our viewers a little bit about you, where you came from, a little bit about your environment?
So I'm born and raised in Lowell, Jennifer Projects more than likely. Kind of can't say I lived a rough life as far as my home. I grew up with my grandparents. They did anything and everything they could. At like 14, 15, I kind of took a turn for the worse. A lot of that had to do with me dealing with some inner anger, growing up without my parents, not really knowing them like that. It takes a toll.
Yeah.
So I chose to take the street life. Eventually, obviously, ended up to drug selling, gang banging. Eventually caught up with me, ended up doing a few years behind jail.
Cool. So you said you grew up without your parents?
Yeah.
So your grandparents kind of raised you?
Yes.
So that environment, I know Jennifer's Projects pretty well. That environment, so what attracted you to the gang life? What attracted you? I mean, if you came from a decent family, what still attracted you to?
It was just a fast life, I guess. Obviously, growing up in the Jennifer Projects at that time was tough.
Yeah.
You walk out your door, all you see is violence. All you see is the drug selling.
Yeah.
So even though I had a good home, to say, just seeing that fast money, seeing that life attracted me. I don't know if, to me personally, it was kind of an escape to me being able to let my anger out. I couldn't let everything was held in, so I looked at it like, all right, if I go out to the streets, it's a violent life, but I can release my anger.
Yeah, it fit in kind of.
It was just another home from home for me, basically.
Yeah, the street life, it is captivating like that. Like you said, me and you knew each other from Shirley Medium. When you left there, let me ask you, did you decide to transition while you were in Shirley, or what happened? What happened to make you say, hey, you know what, I'm enough of this. I want to do the right thing. What happened?
So obviously, being in jail, you go through that state of where you're like, what brought me here? Especially me, where I had two kids, and one of them was born while I was in jail.
Okay.
So while I was in there, I kind of like, listen, I got to go out, I got to change my life. It's easy to say, a lot harder to do.
Yes, it is.
I got out, I was good for maybe a month, to be honest, and little by little started falling off the track again, going to that dark path. I ended up getting into the kitchen. At first, it was just a job because probation was like, you got to work.
So the kitchen, while you was locked up, or the kitchen?
Outside.
Outside, okay.
Yeah, the kitchen manager at the time started showing me the ropes, and I started falling in love with that. I started seeing how actually good I was at what I started doing.
Yeah.
So little by little, I started transitioning, and then, but it's like this, you can take someone away from the streets, but you can't take the streets out of that person.
Exactly.
So there's gonna be situations where I fell into, where people be like, oh, you were in jail, you were a gangbanger, and automatically my mind just goes back to that state of mind.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at like, all right, so now you're trying to downgrade who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of times where I slipped up. So it's hard.
No, it is tough.
It's hard.
It is tough. So you originally started working in a kitchen.
Yes.
And so that's when you found out that you had a love for cooking?
Yeah, I had a love for, yeah.
And so what happened from there that, to get you from the love of cooking to actually thinking and opening your own business?
So probably like a few years after being in the kitchen, I started running kitchens myself. And then from there, little by little, I kept learning, self-taught. I really never went to school for it. I tried to go to Cordon Bleu. By that time, I already had probably like 10 years in the kitchen, so I really felt like I wasn't learning anything new. So I just self-taught, reading books, YouTube, just trial and error. And I just kept going with it. And little by little, I kept getting better and better at what I was doing. People are telling me, listen, you need to do something with this. Like, your hands are blessed.
Yeah.
Like, and just hearing that, it gave me a boost.
Okay.
But even though inside of me I still had doubt because of the life I lived, I used to always think, nothing's gonna come out of this. I'm not gonna go from what I was doing to being someone that's known, and so it's tough. It's been a tough ride, This catering thing has only been open a little over a year now.
Okay.
And that was a lot of that was to my wife.
Yeah.
That I have now. She was like, listen, you need to do something, like you gotta pursue it.
I want to talk about that, yeah. I want to talk about the influence that your wife and your kids have on you. I think for people like us that, I think, we grew up in places where I would say not that family was not supportive, but the cohesiveness of our family, like, we really, like you said, our family became the streets, right?
Yeah.
So, and we were taught in different ways where, we were taught different about family, different about women. We looked at women differently. Where do you come to a place where you fall in love and you become to where we allow people to have influence in our life? You know what I mean? Like you said, your wife's your inspiration, your motivation, and she pushed you. How did that happen? How did you feel?
So, I mean, obviously the kids are huge inspiration. 'Cause I started looking at it little by little. As my older son started going through high school and trying to go towards the life I was living, I sat down and said, listen, this, you know what I've been through, this is what I lived. So I looked at it like, how can I tell my son to move forward, to live a good life, and I'm still taking backward steps. So I started getting myself into that mentality. I need to show them. I'm supposed to be the guy that shows them the right way.
The example.
And then obviously my wife came through. We were together for like 7 years before we got married. Like I said, there was times I slipped up, and there was one time where things got really ugly. I was in a dark path after I lost my grandfather.
Yeah,
My mind went to like that was my rock.
Yeah.
My mind went to an extremely dark path. I ran into a situation. I made a phone call to her at like 3 a.m. I was like, you need to come over before things get really ugly. And at that point, she was like, listen, you need to snap out of it. Like, we're going to do whatever you got to do, get into the books again. Like, I threw my books away. I just wanted to give up.
Yeah.
And she's like, you got a son. Like, you got kids. Like, you can't. And something just inside of me was like, nah, this isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I need to get back on the right track.
Good.
If not for myself, for my kids to show them.
Good.
And, she's been pushing me. There was times where I just wanted things to get tough.
No, they do.
Especially with our background. You try to move forward. You try to get help. And once they find out your background, they're like, yeah, no, we're going to take a loss if we try to invest in you.
Investments, huh?
It's tough.
It is tough. Look at the name Animal Kitchen. The reason why I wanted you to talk about, I know what that name means. That means you're a beast in the kitchen, that your hands, like you said, are blessed. But for people that might not know what that means, for instance, you don't want people to not give you a call because of animal, but you explain to them how'd you come up with that name, and what does that name mean, clearly?
So the name obviously is because throughout the years of the kitchen, doing what I was doing, people like, yo, you're an animal in the kitchen, like you're a beast, like you're blessed, like you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
So that name kind of stuck. And honestly, the name for my catering business, I took that name. This whole thing started as a design for shirts.
Yeah.
I didn't even have any in mind, like, oh, this is gonna be my catering. Like, this started just as a simple design that I put together with one of my friends for shirts, just put some shirts out there. And then people started buying shirts. Like, oh, you need to start cooking, start doing parties. I started getting phone calls. So I was like, all right, started doing little parties, and now my name starts getting out there.
Yeah.
Oh, call Nef from Kitchen Animal.
Yeah.
So when I decided to open the catering, I was like, you know what? People already know that. It's already familiar with me.
Yeah.
So that's what keep it going. And it's a catchy name.
Yeah, it is.
People hear it, they're like, Kitchen Animal, like, what's that?
Yeah, it is. And yeah, when I seen it, I was like, wow. But I knew right away that, if somebody says you're an animal in the kitchen, that means you're a beast. You're not nice. You know what I mean? I wanted to ask you, so can you talk a little bit about your business? Where you're at in the business, what you hope to have, or what it looks like in the future for you, what path do you want your business to go in? If you saw it 10 years from now, what would you want to see?
So this started, honestly, like I said, it's been a little over a year, and I started with a popcorn machine, a snow cone machine, and a cotton candy machine. I started with, it was a $1,500 investment from my father-in-law. He was like, listen, here's a check, do what you gotta do. So I was like, let me start slowly. And from that, it grew towards
Say that again, a what?
Started with a cotton candy machine, a snow cone machine, a popcorn machine.
And that started the business?
That started the business.
Okay.
And then from there, I started doing like kids' birthday parties, summertime. And from there, it's just social media is huge.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Social media pictures are out everywhere of me doing that stuff, and have my kids helping me, and it just blew up.
Yeah.
And this year's been huge,
Good.
huge blessing.
Good.
It's taken off a lot. I've done some huge parties. I already got like 3 parties booked for next year.
Good.
And that's literally my daily goal. I'm up in the morning, on the laptop, trying to network, trying to find more ways of getting myself out there through social media, through word of mouth. I'm going out to big companies, just stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because years ago, I wouldn't even think about, let me go try to pass on some menus to these big corporate companies. I wouldn't even want to step foot in there.
No, you should.
But now
yeah.
it's like I'm getting out of my comfort zone. I'm getting more comfortable being out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, you have to.
So
That's what they say. You have to be
yeah.
uncomfortable.
Exactly, to move forward, exactly.
Can you describe some of your plates? You know, some of your plates, the names of your plates, and what the ingredients are, just so people get an idea of exactly what what kind of meals or what they can look forward to having if they hire you for catering.
Yeah. So I'm been doing this a little over 20 years now, so I've like to say I'm pretty well rounded in a lot of different cuisines.
Yeah.
Obviously, my main two cuisines would be American cuisine, which is your steak, your lobster, any surf and turf, and obviously my heritage is Puerto Rican food.
Okay.
That's a lot of my catering is based out of one of those two things.
Do you mix the Spanish American?
I do, yeah.
You do that a lot?
Yes.
Like in what ways? You know, what, for instance, I like steak, potatoes, so how would you make that for me?
So things like what I like to do, I like to infuse different flavors. So your typical, instead of using what steak would be like salt and pepper, I would do a dry rub using authentic Spanish seasonings.
Seasons.
Yeah, I do a lot of infusion. I play around with a lot of chemicals, scientific chemicals out there, safe for food. I do stuff that people be like, what is that?
No, I was looking online and I'm looking at some of the meals. And I'm like, wow, the spreads are clean. They look good.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and this is all home based, you know.
And that's all home.
I'm doing this from home right now. Yeah.
Wow. So where would you want to? Where would you? What is the next step?
The next step, as far as my catering business, would be to be able to get into a commercial space.
Okay.
That's the goal for me.
Okay.
That's obviously something I have to work on. That's not going to happen overnight, but it's something I work on every day. That's
Good.
part of my daily goal.
There you go. Let me ask you another question. In business, we know you start a business. You know, the first year or two is always right. You did speak a little bit about the wanting to give up piece. I want to go a little bit deeper, if we can. How does it feel to want to give up? I remember when you said that, it reminded me of me throwing my first book, my manuscript, because no one would touch it. And I don't know if that had to do with Googling me and finding out I was a criminal or whatever, just probably didn't believe in my work, whatever. But I actually threw it in the garbage can. And a friend of mine took it out of the garbage can. I left it and went and did what I needed to do. But she took it out of the garbage can, saved it for me. And I'm grateful because that was the first book I was able to publish. So how did you, and I know those feelings, you know, can you describe a little bit how you felt about it? And what was the pressure? It wasn't, you didn't see it getting ahead, you didn't see it, or, you know, was it something else that was driving you not to want to believe in yourself?
Yeah, the pressure, obviously the pressure is huge, especially like we talked about with our background.
Yeah.
I feel like the pressure is even more.
Yeah.
There was times where I would try to put myself out there and people would already know the name. They'd be like, oh, didn't you go to jail before? Or weren't you? And I'd be like, all right, but I was 17 then.
Yeah.
You know, it's been over 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
So when you hearing conversations like that, somebody keeps bringing that up constantly, you start getting to that state of mind where, is that where I'm going to be stuck at the rest of my life?
Yeah.
I don't want to be there, but it's almost like society leaves you there.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to get out of that. And just that pressure kind of broke me at one point where I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done trying. Like, I look at it like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And you get into a really dark place.
No, I get it.
It's dangerous. Yeah. It is. Because once you get back into that state of mind, all you start thinking about is, well, I know where I can go, where I'm going to fit in.
Well, I can fit in and make
And
it happen.
it's easy to make that transition to the streets. It's real easy.
Oh, it's easy to go backwards.
Yeah, to go back to the streets. Yeah, you know, once you're in that dark place,
Yeah.
to get out of that dark place, honestly, it got to a point where I was like, I can't do this alone. Luckily, I had a support system. I could talk to my son. I had my sister I could talk to. You have to lean on someone at one point in time.
Yeah.
You know, when I got into those places, I looked at it like us growing up, we were always told as a man, don't show your emotions.
Yeah.
Keep that in. Honestly, me personally, I think that was one of the worst lessons I could have ever learned.
It is so bad. It is.
Because it does it damages you.
Yeah.
It damages you. Like, you hold all that in, and when you let it out, it doesn't come out in a nice way.
No, it doesn't.
You know, so that's one of the things that I started learning as I got older. Like, can't keep all that bottled in. It eats you alive. Literally. Eats you up.
It will. Another thing I seen doing a little research that I did, that Phantom Gourmet came to see you. Can you explain how that happened and how they got in touch with you?
That was huge.
And how you felt about it? And did that kind of like, amp you, or did that kind of like say, okay, yeah, I'm in the right place? If Phantom Gourmet is coming to see me, then I must be on the right path.
Yeah,
How did all of it happen? They called you, whatever.
So the way that happened was a friend of my wife's seen that they were coming to Waltham to do their food festival. They do biggest food festival ever around here. So she contacted my wife. Was like, listen, talk to your husband. Like, you guys should be in this. He deserves to be in this. I was like, my wife forwarded me the message. I read it. I was at work at the time. I put it down. I'm like, there's no way. Like, nobody knows me. I'm going to a place where you got 110 Grill, you got Kowloon, you got all these big known companies. They got 4, 5, 6, 7 restaurants.
Yeah.
I'm a small timer at home.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Got to the point I went home, talked to my wife, and she was like, what do you have to lose? She was like, why do you keep doubting yourself? What do you have to lose?
Wow.
So I was like, all right, jumped on the laptop, sent out an email. Next morning, I get a phone call from from the event director, Yvonne.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation. She was honestly a blessing. Yeah. A blessing. Like, she said, I got you. I'm going to walk you from A through Z. I'm going to make sure you're in this. She was like, what you do at home, she goes, with those pictures I seen of your food, she goes, that's incredible.
Yeah, I wish I had some of your pictures. I don't want to interrupt, but I wish I had some of your pictures.
It was a blessing. And at that point, that really, like, lit the fire under me.
Okay.
I was like, this is what I'm meant to do.
So how was the event when you went out there? What was it like?
It was a blast.
A bunch of...
Yeah, it was open. There was probably like 7,000 people walking around. From the time they told me I was finally in, because you got to go through so much paperwork, obviously, Board of Health and all these other certificates. But once they told me, your spot is secured, my anxiety, my nerves, man, listen, man. Every day I'd wake up like, yo, is this real? Is this real? To the point where, I want to say like 2 weeks before the event, I was like, I got to drive out there. I just want to feel the street where I'm at. And I literally took a drive out there with my wife. Out there for like an hour, just sitting on the street, just imagining myself.
Visualizing.
Yeah. Like,
that's dope,
I would have never expected that. But when that day came, it was a blast.
Yeah. So did that cement the fact that that's what you were meant to do?
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And, like I said, I wish we had some of your pictures. I want to ask you 2 questions, a part question. What was the worst experience you had, opening a business and doing it, and what was the best? If Phantom Gourmet probably was, or was there a better experience?
I'm trying to think. I want to say one of the worst experiences opening this, I would have to say it would be just me trusting in myself. Believing in myself. Honestly, I think that was the hardest thing for me. Even though, like I said, I had people calling me, like, oh, Nef, I got a party coming up next month. Can you cater? Yeah, sure, no problem. Even though I'm seeing what I can do, people are commenting, but just me having that doubt, that inner doubt that I've always grew up with, that was the toughest thing for me to get out of my own head.
Overcome.
Yeah.
Do you think the fact that it was your wife believing in you that helped you believe in yourself?
Without question. Without question. I tell her all the time. Without
so
question.
Give her a shout out. Give us.
Love you, babes.
Yeah.
All because of you.
Yeah,
that's without question. I tell her all the time, and she's like, no. She goes, you did it. I'm like, no, because I know without her support, I honestly feel like I would have been living that dark life again. Just because at that point in my life, I was in a very dark place.
Okay, that's the worst. What was the best?
The best, besides the Phantom Gourmet, I think it's just me giving myself approval. Getting out of my own head and be like, all right, this is what you're meant to do. Continue with it, and just being on that daily grind.
Yeah.
I think, and just me seeing myself where I was to where I'm at now, it's been a blessing.
And just the fact that you're able to take care of your kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
How your kids inspire you?
Oh, they inspire me every day.
I mean, I know they get good food all the time.
Yeah, I love it.
They love
especially my young ones. Like, when Lois' son did an article about me last month, they both went to school, told all their friends, oh yeah, my dad's in the newspaper. They're telling their teachers. So things like that. It's like, it motivates me.
Yeah.
Like seeing them proud of what I'm doing for them.
Yeah, and it's good because a lot of us don't make it out, out of our lifestyles or out of our own way. And you're right. We talked before this. You were talking about our children watching us. You know what I mean? I made a mad serious errors with my life, and I made mad serious errors, with my children. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to understand, how important that is. You know what I mean? Because they're watching us.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that they're watching us. And you said another thing that I like. You said that you spoke to them, but it wasn't about speaking to your son. It was about showing them.
Showing, yeah.
And that those things are big. And making that transition in our thought is really big too. Let me ask you another question. When you got out, or when you started this, was there any resources, or was this all you've done it? I mean, were you able to connect to resources that are in the community or government or anything to help you? You know, for the business, or that will help you establish, get you your own place. You know what I mean? Are there any resources that you...
So when I started doing this, there was no resources.
Okay.
This was literally just me living my dream.
Okay.
Just like I said, it was just me looking things up, networking, a lot of studying, like what do I do from A to Z? From paperwork, what the steps I gotta do, who do I gotta speak to? Like I said, that was an investment that my father-in-law made. Then throughout the few years
He
back,
believed in you, huh?
oh, absolutely. He's telling me at times, like, listen, he goes, look what you're doing from your home, bro. He goes, stop doubting yourself so much. I catered my own wedding.
Dude, you can see it. I mean, I'm not trying to gas you.
Like,
you can see the pictures, and I think what we're gonna do is just, see if Alex can get some of the pictures up.
Yeah,
and because the pictures are amazing, bro. You would never think that was that home. Yeah. I'm looking at these pictures, and I'm like, it's
from home, yeah.
So
a few years back, I met Dave Ouellet. He was the president of Board of Health from Lowell. He's in Drake right now. He came into one of my kitchens I was running, and we just got to talk, and he was like, listen, he goes, what you do is incredible. He goes, you ever need anything, if you ever need any help, any assistance, call me.
And that's Dave Ouellet out of Lowell?
Yes, and obviously at first you're like, all right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
As a politician.
But then there was a point where I was like, I got stuck, and what my next step was for the catering. How do I go about this? I was like, you know what? Let me shoot him a message before I call him to see if he even replies.
If he even remembers, right?
10 minutes later, he's like, hey, Nef, what's going on? He goes, give me a call so we can talk.
Wow.
I was like, oh. And whatever questions I have, I can call him, pick up the phone. Hey, Dave, I have a question. Yeah, no problem. So he's actually the one that reached out to Lowell's son.
Oh, he did?
For my story.
Okay.
When they reached out to me, they was like, yeah, you know Dave Ouellet? I was like, yeah. They were like, yeah, he called us, told us about your story, how you're trying to transition. They was like, we think it's an incredible story.
It is.
I was like, okay.
It is. So he's one of the supporters. Are there any more supporters out
absolutely,
there?
Yeah.
Is there any more supporters? Are there any resources? Bill, I was speaking to a guy this morning right after I had called you. Some guy that had messaged me about coming on the show, and so I was speaking to him, and when he was talking to me, he was talking about that he supplies funding and funds small businesses. I think I told you, right?
Yeah, we spoke about that earlier.
You talked about it. So I'm gonna link you two guys up because I think you guys would fit. Because if you do need a building, and if that's what you want, and that's the next step, then I'm just hopeful that either somebody who's watching the show or somebody that's in my network, you know what I mean, that can help you with that or has information for the funding to help you go to the next level. Let me ask you another question. I was thinking about your favorite dish. And what does, I think I asked you a little bit, but what does your menu consist of, and what is your favorite dish?
My favorite thing to cook?
The favorite thing you make?
I think it would have to be anything that has like a surf and turf. Anything with steak and seafood, I'm all for. I'm a huge steak.
Do you eat a lot of that in your house then?
Oh, absolutely. My kids love it, so it's not, so I love it. They're like, Dad, we have steak? Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So give me a little bit about your menu. If someone wanted to hire you, cater or whatever, what would be like some on the menu? What would you, or would they offer what they want?
So I try to base it on, so I have a few menus, kind of set menus that you can choose from like I said, from appetizers like stuffed mushrooms, shrimp cocktails, to fried mofongo balls, Spanish. So I have a mixed menus. And I have your more upscale menus for like weddings, sweet 15s, things like that. And I try to basically, I can do pretty much any type of catering. I've done little kids' birthday parties to sweet 15s. The only thing I haven't touched here is a wedding. Hopefully next year, I'll get that opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I find myself to be very versatile.
Yeah.
And I'll sit down with my client, because the way I look at the word catering to me is you're literally catering to that person.
Exactly.
That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
So I'll sit down with them, kind of get a vibe of which way they want to go with the cuisine. Do they want just finger foods? I'll go back home, put pen to paper, put a few options together, send it to them.
Okay.
And then from there, we just start picking things apart, till we get all the final details. So I pretty much leave it up to the guests for the most part. I'll give them what I have, and if there's anything that they want to add, then I'll give them some more options, and I kind of let them choose the menu.
But basically, anything if somebody come up with,
Absolutely.
you can do it.
Yeah.
You hear that, guys? Basically anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Is there any more, anything else you want to say? Do you want to say anything to your family? Do you want to thank people in your life that have supported
Absolutely.
you? And what we'll do is after the show, we'll run everything. We'll get some pictures. But I want you to be able to speak to people that supported you and just, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so definitely my family, my sisters, my kids, definitely my wife, my in-laws. They've all been a huge, huge support. Even through my dark times, they've supported.
Okay.
You know, and it's always been like, Nef, listen, like we know what you've been through. You haven't been through the easiest life, but you kind of gotta try to step out of that. You're doing good. You gotta keep pushing forward. Just having those people there that I could lean on, it's been huge for me, huge. Especially lately, you know. Like I said, lost my grandfather a few years ago. That was tough.
Yeah,
The beginning of this year, just lost my grandmother in January unexpectedly.
my condolences.
So when that happened, I started kind of getting to that dark place again. They seen that. A lot of my friends, close friends, they used to call me the phone comments constantly, like, "Yo, you good? Coming by, making sure I was okay," because they knew. So just having that support from all of them,
Yeah.
it's been a blessing, and that what helps me.
Good.
It's a motivational to me every day to have that.
What other medias can people, or even though we'll put it up, where can they find you?
So Facebook at Neftaly Medina, on Facebook Kitchen Animal Catering, Instagram Chef_Nef.
Yeah. Good. Thank you for coming, bro.
I
And,
appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. Like I said, the pictures that I've seen of the food, you can go check it out yourself. Unbelievable. And now it's even more unbelievable to know that this man has did this all in his kitchen. It definitely doesn't look like that. It looks like something, like 5-star. It really looks crazy. Crazy beautiful, put it that way. So we're going to leave the information up after the show. Contact this man. If anybody has any resources available or any knowledge about resources available to help this man get his business to the next level, we appreciate you contacting him or contacting us for him. Again, thank you again, bro. I would like to say just a little shout out to Leaving the Street Ministries. Thank you for what you guys are doing with these kids. It's very important. And it's a big shout out to you. Another shout out to my friend from Yard Time Entertainment out in Boston who's doing big things with the kids. He's really, really working with the kids. There's always just doing things with that. I just like to thank my supporters, and I'd like to say I love you to Aisha, Darryl, and Zayla. Peace.